Robin Baker, Vice President of the Old Stationers Association this year, and this is my first video of my recollections of school days at Stationers. As an 11-year-old, it was quite daunting going to school. I had to get a bus from Tottenham through to Hornsey, which took about an hour. The 233, I think it was, went through Wood Green, Alexandra Palace, Hornsey, Crouch End and up Fern Park Road to the school. The first day we were there was really a day that changed my life, in effect. We were sitting in our class and in walked a very small man with a very, very big reputation. His name was Mr. Bartlett and he was the mathematics teacher. And he walked in and he had a brown chalk striped double-breasted suit on, slick back Brill-creamed hair, and shoes are so shiny you could see your face in them. And quite honestly, he was quite frightening. He was quite small in stature, but he was frightening. His face never changed from when he went in the door to when he put his bag on the table and turned to us. His face had never moved. I always remember he had high cheekbones. And he opened his mouth and he said, "Gentlemen, I am Mr. Bartlett and I'm here to teach you mathematics. There is no such word as maths. The word is mathematics. And you will learn mathematics." And do you know what? He was right. I did. And it's been the base of my success, if you will, all my life. I love numbers, and it was all down to Mr. Bartlett that I did love numbers. And done quite well for myself because I've been good at maths. Mathematics. I get told off. But that was the first recollection of being at school. And I hope some people here who see this can also remember Mr. Bartlett. I think his nickname was Peanut because he was so small. But as I said, a small in stature, but a very big man in my life. Thank you.
Beaky, or Beak Davis, was a legend at Stationers. He joined the school no later than 1931, when he was appointed to head the preparatory department. So when I joined in 1962, he'd already been there for well over 30 years. He was bald by then and always wore a gown. The origin of his nickname is obscure. It may be because his nose was rather beak-like in shape, or because Beak is a common nickname for a teacher, or simply because his initial was B, which I believe stood for Berthold. His subject was French, which he taught with old-fashioned repetitive rigour, drumming verb conjugations into us by rote. I remember going on a school trip to Paris with him in 1964, when even my 13-year-old self felt that his French, though fluent, lacked something in the pronunciation department. But what he may have lacked in polish, he more than made up for in personality. He had a range of sayings and expressions that have remained in my mind for over 50 years. He would invariably enter the room by exclaiming, "Bonjour, mes élèves," to which we all responded, "Bonjour, monsieur." "Avez-vous fait vos devoirs pour aujourd'hui?" he would ask. If we said, "Oui, monsieur," he would ask, "Devoir oral ou devoir écrit?" And if the former, an oral test would follow. If, however, the answer was "Non, monsieur," there would come the unforgettable "Quel dommage." Other aphorisms would come thick and fast. Running his hand over his bald scalp, he would warn against splitting hairs. You would be grown up when your feet touched the ground when you stood up. Although it's a long time since then, time flies, you can't, they go too fast. When you make a mistake, you're being Sally Slapdash. You had to try to avoid speaking bilge, barge, balderdash, poppycock and piffle. But there were times when you realised that you were suffering from inspissated crassitude. He would say that common sense is a very uncommon commodity, and he would point out, when faced with schoolboy trickery, that he's not as green as his cabbage looking. If a boy was playing with his ruler, he would be told that the last boy who did that died by inches. And bless my soul and liver, who can forget that a cedilla is a submarine sign because it's under the sea? All in all, Beaky Davis was an unforgettable man and teacher.
The teacher I remember most fondly from my days at stationers was a Mr. Thomas. He taught English, literature and language. We used to call him Gus, or Gus Thomas. I don't think his name was Gus. He may have been, but I don't know. That's what we called him. And he wasn't an easy man to like in some ways. He was quite austere, and he demanded respect. He was strict, but he didn't rule the class by cruelty or humiliation or favoritism or anything of that sort. He treated everybody the same, and you didn't mess with Gus. So in fact, you learned. One of his other duties was detention master. He used to record detentions, and you'd go to a room in the evening and report to him. And detentions, if you got them from other teachers or prefects, they were recorded in a register and probably appeared on your final records or your report or something. It certainly was a demerit to your house. But if you got a detention from Gus, it was between you and him. And the work you mussed up in class or the homework you hadn't done, you'd have to do it in the detention. And when it was done to his satisfaction, you could go. But the detention you got didn't appear on your record. It was between you and him. I believe he had a genuine love of the English language, spoken and written, and poetry and prose. And one of the things he had, he used to have particular words that he disliked. To decimate, for example. He'd say, don't decimate, don't say things were decimated. People don't know what it means. It means 1 in 10. It doesn't mean catastrophe or disaster or anything of the sort. It means a military punishment, 1 in 10. And another word that he was one of his bête noire was nice. He said people say nice, they had a nice holiday, nice ice cream, nice this, nice that. I don't want to hear it. Don't put it in your essays. They don't use the word nice. You don't know what it means. So I went to the trouble of finding out what nice does actually mean and how it should be used. And I think it means precise or accurate or nice. You say something's nicely done or nicely made. It means it's precise and accurate. Anyway, I wrote an essay and used nice in the proper way that it was intended to be used. I believe I got an A+ for that essay, which is probably the highest score I got for any work I did while I was at stationers. Another thing he said was, I think he was about to read some poetry, and there was a general sort of a low murmur from the class, and he sort of turned to us and he said, "Well, don't be ridiculous. In a couple of years' time, when you want to impress a young woman, what are you going to do if you don't know any poetry?" It was lost on us, I suppose, but I guess he was right. Anyway, at the end of the school day, he was collected by a rather interesting looking woman with short dark hair and rosy cheeks, and she drove, I believe, a Morris Traveller, and Gus got in it and they looked happy. And I suspect that when she was younger, she was the sort of woman who was impressed by poetry. They looked happy. I hope they were. They deserved to be. Anyway, that was Gus.